All right, guys, we're here for a God Valley preview, essentially, because that's basically what Chapter 1160 was, and it seems like we are gonna get God Valley here in the next couple chapters, if not the literal next chapter. We're gonna see exactly what went down. So, I'm here to talk about that with Coach, who hasn't been here for 10 chapters. The last time we talked, Emu showed up, and that was the talk of the town, and suddenly we have moved away from that, and we're now seeing God Valley. We obviously saw Rocks, we saw the Davy family, and this is all stuff that you and I have not gotten to talk about yet, Recon. So just give me your thoughts on everything we've seen recently in the story. Like, is this some of the best stuff we've ever had?
These last 10 chapters have been like perfect. It's been from the Loki emotional stuff with Harold, Rocks and Harold's relationship, Rocks and just his crew, all the awesome stuff there. Then the Shaggy stuff that brings the Roger Pirates into it and Garp and them into it, and it's been a great exploration of so many different elements of it. But in regards to, at the very least, the most recent chapter, I love what we're cooking here because it feels like, and you and I are both sports fans, it's like whenever you're hyping up the NBA Finals, right? And you have like the promo package playing. It's about to be Curry and Braun. You've seen them here before. They're about to do it again. And they're showing the highlights. You're like, oh my God. You see the Holy Knights, and then you see the Roger Pirates. You see Garp and the Marines. You see Monkey D. Dragon. You see Rocks. And it's like, dude, put me in the game, Coach. I'm ready. And so I feel like, just like you were saying, what this last chapter showed me is Oda's going to take his time with this God Valley flashback, which is exactly what I want. Because I didn't want it to just be one chapter. Oda, if you want to be here for 10 chapters, we're here, baby. You know what I'm saying? Yep. We're here. We're here for the entire ride. So I think it was the perfect preview for us to get right into the way that this God Valley section of this flashback is going to be structured, which should be us seeing it from multiple different perspectives. The way we saw like Dragon in this chapter, the Holy Knights in another section, and then we saw like Roger in another section, Rocks. It's kind of like it reminded me of a Marineford chapter with how many times we switched POVs and you never really felt lost. So I can't wait for what's about to go down, man. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I like how you said, Oda's going to take his time, because he's already been taking his time with this flashback, right? We started with Loki and, like, what happened with him and Harold, and we're like, all right, we're about to figure out what happened 14 years ago, and it's like, no, we're going back 100+ years. We're going way back, right? We're going to time periods that we have not learned a single thing about before, and now that we're here at the God Valley flashback, like, And I mean, at this point, it would be absurd if Oda didn't show everything to us. I feel like Oda has clearly shown his hand. Like, we are getting the whole thing. And so I agree. He is going to take his time. We might be here for maybe 10 chapters, maybe 5, minimum 5, I would say, something like that. Yeah. And another thing you brought up was the sports comparison. And I kind of want to start there with our sort of discussion today, this preview of sorts, because I feel like this is an appropriate place to start, because they are making it seem like a giant sporting event, right? It feels like the World Cup, where the Celestial Dragons were looking at FanDuel together, right? They were on DraftKings.
Yes.
They were on Bet365, placing bets on the over-under on the Celestial Dragon genocide of God Valley. You know what I mean? Like, they were looking up player props for Gunko, right? And so what are your thoughts on kind of how Oda's displaying how depraved the Celestial Dragons are? We kind of knew that for them to even think of this, but now seeing that they treat it like a sports game, they're literally watching it in Marijois, like celebrating, like they're rooting for different teams, right? The different families.
It reminds me of like how it was back in the day, whenever they would like have gladiators and individuals getting eaten by lions for sport, right? Yes. And like, you know what I'm saying? So it's obviously individuals that are used to that violence, and they don't even look at regular individuals as humans. But I love the way this chapter paralleled that with the dragon stuff.
Yes.
Because Dragon at this point is obviously not as strong as he's going to end up being where we are right now. But it showed that his will similar to what I think is about to happen with Usopp and Elbaf, is that it's not about how strong you are, it's about how strong your will is. And so Dragon is willing fate to move in a certain way. So he's about to be the one that delivers Shanks over to Roger. He's about to be the one. He is the one that's legitimately started the Revolutionary Army, because if it wasn't for him, Kuma would have died right there, and Ivankov.
Yep.
So it's like, even though Dragon doesn't have the power at this point of like Garp and Roger and Rox and all that, the will to want to help, and that is causing fate to change. And I love that so much, because showcases that you don't need to be similar to what happened with Luffy with the Celestial Dragon Punch. They weren't strong enough, but he did it anyway. He was like, I don't care. Right. I'm taking this dude out. Bring on the Admiral. And so when you see father and son doing that for people, I mean, Luffy knows Hachi, but he didn't know him like it was Nami or something, or like Zoro.
Right.
Like, to see what Dragon and Luffy would do for their people, for anyone who just to do the right thing at the right time.
Yes. Yep.
Is just so cool to me. Like, no matter what the circumstance is, and you need someone like the Celestial Dragons be the flagnards they are for that to hit as hard as it does. So that's why I'm so glad that was done in the way that it was in this chapter.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I didn't even really think about it the way you kind of described, where Dragon's will is kind of making things move, because, I mean, that is kind of it. Like, he's not out here beating anyone that's super powerful necessarily. You know, he's out here just being at the right place at the right time, trying to do the right thing, you know, and he is going to end up saving at least one kid, because, like, Shamrock, I mean, he obviously ended up living, but he became a God's Knight and is also an evil person, so he kind of got, you know, not saved in that regard. He obviously ended up with Garling, but at least Shanks. And also, you know, you mentioned him saving the Revolutionary Army. Well, by him saving Kuma, by him just knocking out one Celestial Dragon, he essentially saved 500 people. Because remember, Kuma saved 500 people during God Valley, right? So and this is something that I almost did a full video on, and I probably will once God Valley's over. But it's about the butterfly effect of God Valley, right? Like, the way that the world has turned just because of, like, small decisions like this during the event. Like, it's absolutely insane to think of how much the current One Piece world we know of was impacted greatly by this event, right? Like almost all the Yonko that we've met were here. You know, the leader of the Revolutionary Army here, like, the current, well, he was the supreme commander of the God's Knights and now became a Gorosei, was here, and this is probably where he started, you know, becoming a big shot. So yeah, it's just insane. And so you brought up Dragon, and I want to talk about him a little bit, because for one thing, I'm so glad Oda brought him here. Like, a lot of people were banking on it, but as soon as I saw him, I was like, okay, God Valley's about to be as hype as I thought it was going to be. And whenever he comes across all these dead bodies and he's, like, about to throw up, like, everyone else is just kind of taking this for granted, and he's like, dude, there are bodies everywhere. Like, people are just dying. What did I sign up for? And so I just feel like Dragon being, you know, saving his future Revolutionary Army commanders. By the way, Ivankov, awesome showing during everything we've seen, going back to the slave ship and here. I just think it's so cool. And I don't know if you've heard this theory before, and so I'm curious if you're on this agenda, but do you think Dragon gets his devil fruit here? Does he pull it out of a chest and put Shanks inside, and that's where he gets it? And then that's because, going back to the butterfly effect of all things, like, that would be kind of cool. Like, he did the right thing. Speaking of the will of Dragon and everything, does the right thing, keeps trying to save this kid, boom, gets a really strong fruit, boom, he becomes a boss because of his good deeds, essentially.
Reason why I think that would be so dope, because I think we still need something that pushes us out of the radius of what's about to happen. Because if Imu possesses Goomko here, deletes the island, we need something that gets Roger and all other individuals that are going to escape the push necessary to get out of there. And if Dragon has the wind fruit as we all think. Dragon legitimately pushing them all forward while giving Shanks over to him would be so cool because once again, Dragon just wanting to save people. It caused him to save so many of the heroes in the series without even having the power to do so. And then you give him the power to do so, and he's still out here saving people. So I think in that regard, I would love if his fruit is in that chest. And if we're just going to reveal it now, because Oda wants to cut after Elbaf to Dragon throwing hands, no need for an Oda box for the fruit. Let's get it. Because what this chapter showed me is when we get to back to the Holy Land, Blackbeard has a vendetta against dragons.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's like we're already starting to set the pieces up for what we're about to hear with Blackbeard and the Celestial Dragons. Rock saying, "I'll be back," and we're taking that as like a literal thing through Blackbeard. And then of course with Dragon, if we're already going to start feeding into that too now, I'm curious on what you think about that. Like, if we were to reveal Dragon's fruit here and now, do you think Oda would do so because we're leaving Elbaf, we're getting into Revolutionary Army action? What do you think?
I think for whatever's happening in the Holy Land, there was a lot of backdrop that he needed to explain that this flashback had to involve, right? Because like you also mentioned Blackbeard, and like we're still wondering who it is in the Holy Land. But now that we've seen, okay, Blackbeard has a clear vendetta against the Celestial Dragons. Not just like a general, oh, they're bad people, I want to take them down. It's like, oh no, they made it personal, right? They were coming for my family, they killed my dad, all this kind of stuff. But then Dragon also, from the very same event, also has a vendetta with the Celestial Dragons. And he doesn't like them for a lot of reasons, but because of what he's seeing here, this is obviously going to drive him to leave at some point and start his own thing. So I think that that's what Oda's setting up for. And is it Blackbeard in the Holy Land? Is it Dragon? Is it both? You know, we got to figure it out. But I think Oda's clearly setting this up. And think about it.
Both, bro, we're about to go back to peak.
And it's kind of crazy to say, but seeing Blackbeard and the Revs in the Holy Land fighting with Emu or something, or, well, Emu's in Elbaf, but who knows how that's working. That might be even crazier than God Valley, which is like, how is that even possible, right? Like, how does that, how are we going to go from peak to higher peak? Like, that's not even, peak is supposed to be the top. But think about it, you know, Oda has kind of combined the Revs and Blackbeard already in the post-time skip with the Baltigo incident. And that's something that we never really got the full scoop on. And so it's just like, if we're going to merge all of this, like maybe Blackbeard and the Revs are there, and Blackbeard's like, aha, I knew you were coming now because we got these documents whenever we took over or whatever. Like, Oda, there's a lot of plot lines that could merge here with those people, you know, going to the Holy Land and basically recreating God Valley, but with the script flipped, where now they're in the Holy Land. Now, I don't know if they're actually going to be, like, executing all the nobles like they're kind of here, but it's almost like, we're going to bring the war to you this time, right? You keep going around to other islands and hurting everybody. We're bringing it to you. We're tired of this. So I think that's definitely what's about to happen after we're done.
I like what you said in regards to connecting this to Baltigo, because you're so right. Like, look back to Dressrosa. Blackbeard reintroduced post-time skip. Babo reintroduced post-time skip. We get chapter 925 is the aftermath for the Reverie, and that's Blackbeard's character full-blown character reveal post-time skip as well. So it's like, and then you brought up Baltigo, the Kuzan stuff, which we believe is like a potential triple agent.
Yep.
So it's like there's so much between those two parties, and I think what this chapter showed as well is that maybe Blackbeard and Dragon are trying to do the same thing, but for different reasons.
Yep. Yes.
And I think that's such an interesting thing to explore in a series that's all about exploring different perspectives on something. And the fact that both of these parties want to take down Emu on the Celestial Dragons, but have entirely different ways of going about it, something that I think is really cool, which is why both of them being at the same time causing a triple threat match, because you know they don't like each other. So it's like, do we put our differences aside, take out the greater evil? Do we just all go at each other? It causes for so much interest.
I agree.
So I like what you said. That's a great connection.
And I just thought of another cool parallel that could kind of connect to is like Impel Down, but the reverse. Because remember, Luffy broke in with Boa Hancock and everything to go save Ace, and Blackbeard just happened to go at the same time, and he snuck in, was able to take advantage of all the ruckus to like have an easy trip through the prison. And maybe it's the same thing where the Revs are planning it, and Blackbeard's like, all right, well we're gonna get in real easy because they're gonna be like the front line, right? They're gonna go in and cause a bunch of mayhem. We'll sneak in the back, so we'll be like fully healthy, like full HP whenever the boss fight comes, and then it's kind of the same thing. And I also wanted to show you something, and I hope this works the way I think it's gonna work. It kind of does. All right, now this looks the way I was hoping it would look. So this is from chapter 818. It's from the Decks of the World cover story series, the post Dressrosa one, right? So this is after Dressrosa, because remember that's when when Burgess went to Baltigo. And you'll see here that it says Baltigo. This is where the revolutionaries still are, but this is post Dressrosa, and we know Blackbeard eventually attacked, so this is before the attack. But just 9 chapters later, 827, we see Kamabaka Queendom, and the text says making preparations. And so is this hinting that Dragon and them knew ahead of time that Blackbeard was going to make the attack? So like, were they ahead of the game?
Interesting.
Like, why else would you? Because like, if they're still in Baltigo chilling, they haven't been attacked. Why are you making preparations? You wouldn't do that unless you know they're coming over there. So I think there's a deeper story here for sure between Dragon and Blackbeard of some kind. And I don't know if they're like you kind of said, they have the same enemies probably, but like they're coming at it from different angles. So it's like, what's Oda kind of plotting here with? They're trying to one up each other, or know each other's plans. Like what is the connection? Because we haven't seen a whole lot between those two guys. I feel like like not a whole lot of direct discussion. So I don't know what is Oda cooking with those guys,
dude. It's like there's like a 3-way right here of Shanks, Blackbeard, and Dragon.
Yes.
That I can't stop thinking about because they're all connected now to the Celestial Dragons in one way or another. Mm-hmm. And I can't stop thinking about what Oda has cooking for post Elbaf, when the only thing in front of us is Lodestar / Moon Piece, hopefully, and Laughtail. You know what I'm saying? So we have to have some sort of payoff to this Celestial Dragon thing, and it's connected to so many different characters. And if we include all the Yonko crews, obviously within Buggy's crew, if Buggy's his other son, do you think Buggy's his other son? Rox's other son?
I mean,
what do you think?
I think he said I had a kid singular when he was talking to Harold, I think, and so I tend to think not, because Buggy would be alive by that point. Right, so he would say, but he could also just be hiding it, because the whole point of the discussion is that he hasn't told anybody this info, so maybe he's just not saying all the info. But I would say probably not, but I mean, I'm not going to rule it out at this point, because family peace is just, I mean, it's prevalent.
It's going crazy.
Yeah.
Family peace is nuts.
Yeah.
But it's like, even whenever we bring in Buggy into the picture, Buggy obviously being connected to Shanks and to Luffy and to the entire situation, and there's members of his crew. If Dofi joins the crew, he has connection to the Celestial Dragons. What is going on with Gecko Moria, Dak? We completely forgot about talking about this, bro. What are we cooking with Thriller Bark and Gecko Moria, bro?
I think he's got to be here, man. I think he's gonna be here. We haven't seen him yet, but I mean. We don't know, but it seems like his ship is a chunk of God Valley. He had all the Dead Rocks pirates, which just adds to that whole thing. He's from the West Blue. Oda's obviously making him important. You know what I mean? Like, it's very clear at this point. There's a lot of Emu parallels. And this is something else we can talk about, but I feel like Gunko is seeming more like not like a zombie in the Moria sense, but almost like a zombie, because Gunko's the God Steel thing, and she's the only God's Knight that doesn't age, right? Every other one we've seen has aged, and she doesn't. Why is that? I'm wondering if she's like Brooke. What if she actually died, but then got brought back before her body decomposed, and now she just can live forever? Or is it the immortal youth surgery? I don't know. But I think there's just so many parallels with Moria, and then obviously the cover story thing. It's just like he's got to go to the Cross Guild. now. I feel like
Yeah.
like it,
Now,
Oh,
definitely.
here's another question for you about Moria. Do you think he can read the poneglyphs?
So I was thinking about this all throughout last week. If every single member, or I'm sorry, if every single Yonko crew is going to have an individual who can read the poneglyphs, then yes. But if that's only
Kazuki
going to stay
Moria.
exclusive to us, then no. Exactly. Because Kazuki Moria,
That's
listen,
crazy.
man,
That's crazy.
that's tax. That's
Yeah.
crazy tax.
Yeah.
So
that's a crazy resume. Just to, if there's a sign in Wano that says Kazuki your name, that's insane. I feel like he can read them, not just because of the name, but his and Odin's time overlapped by 2 years, right? Moria was there, and Moria may have been there even well before that, because remember Odin was only gone for a couple years, right? With Whitebeard and then Roger, then he came back. So Moria may have been there even before that. And if his name is Kozuki Moria, I think at some point he became friends with the Kozuki clan, and they're the ones who, can read and write the poneglyphs. So I feel like he's going to be able to read them, and then that's going to be like Crosskill's just going to keep falling upwards, or Buggy specifically will, where he's about to find a poneglyph reader out of nowhere being Moria, you know what I mean? And then also, so we have Robin. So if we're going to try saying they all can, what do you think about Blackbeard being able to read them because it could be Pudding also, but I think Blackbeard's also a good bet because he's an archaeologist in real life. His hobby is history, and he was on the ship the same time as Odin. So if he's a history fan, he's gonna hit him up like, "Hey man, I heard the whole reason, or I heard you're a big deal because you can read this language. Why don't you teach me?" And then for Shanks's crew, I don't even know, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I don't know if I doubt he can, but I mean, he was also with Odin for a while, so I don't know.
I think if any of them is not going to have it, because we've been hinting throughout the course of the entire story that there's something holding Shanks back. There's multiple things holding Shanks back from being able to attain the One Piece. We assume it's like a self-doubt sort of thing, or at least I assume that in regards to, I'm connected to the Celestial Dragons, I'm connected to Garling, these individuals that are a bunch of flagnards. So maybe he believed for a long time that he couldn't do such a thing, and then now, obviously, after being freed by Luffy at the beginning of the series, is now able to do so. But what about if it is like a literal thing of he has no one that poneglyphs on his ship, who would be able to read them? Who knows? But I think Blackbeard, for me, it would be less about him reading the poneglyphs and more so attaining the information similar to the way Rox did. Because I'm assuming Rox learned about Davy Jones and all of these Void Century individuals through some sort of lineage thing that connects the Davy clan. Something. It's like, I think back to like the Uchiha crest in Naruto and how that contained like so much information about their ancestors, about the past of the series. And so I wonder if there's like something for the Davy family or for the Davy lineage that's been carried from individual to individual, because I've been trying to think, how else would Rox know about, number one, Emu's existence, but number two, Davy Jones is a concept if no one else has brought this character up in this series. So it's like, someone has to know.
Remember the Davy back fights? They brought up Davy Jones in regards to the Davy back fights, and so it's like people in the One Piece world know of Davy Jones. Like he's not, but and that's part of you and I DM'd about this a little bit, but that's part of why like I think the whole who is Davy Jones discussion is so interesting, because it's like, is he really this bad guy that the story says, or is he a good guy, and the reason we keep hearing this bad story is because the government wants us to think that, right? They don't want us to like this guy. Like, I'm very 50-50, because both like him being bad and like being the Blackbeard of the past seems obvious, but I also think the themes of One Piece point towards the opposite, because not only the propaganda angle, but you tend to not be like your parents. Like, sometimes you can be, but one of the themes is that you most like Roger and Ace, like it's not a guarantee that your kid is gonna like you, have the same dreams as you, chase the same things. Like, it's not a guarantee. So if Blackbeard was different than his ancestor, I think that would kind of fit that theme. But as far as you brought up this, like, what are they passing down? Like, how do they know about Davy Jones? Like, is there something? I do think there could be something, because think about it, man. Like, the Nefertari had that letter from Lily that said Nefertari D. Lily.
Good point.
Odin's logbook. That was also like a thing passed down that like Momo's like, oh wow, I can't die. Like there's obviously something important for him in there. And just the poneglyphs in general, that's what they are, is a message from the past that they needed to be extended forward somehow. So I could definitely get behind the idea there's some Davy letter, some Davy book, you know what I mean? Some maybe a dial, you know, that has some recording, or I don't know, some cool thing. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that it could be. So I think there is going to be something, because yes, there's the Davy Jones story we know, but I feel like Rox knows a little more, you know. But maybe he knows that it's all propaganda and he wasn't the story. I don't know what it is, but I agree with you. There's something going on that's deeper with that stuff.
Definitely, and I'm so glad you brought up our DMs, because another thing that that we were talking about in there is the Vegapunk message, and how Vegapunk, while doing his research, came to the conclusion that he doesn't know who was good or evil based on the knowledge that he has of the Void Sentry.
Yeah.
So, who was good and evil? Who knows, right? So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, if Davy was the Blackbeard of that generation, Joy Boy, of course, being the Luffy of that generation, Vegapunk's trying to say, we don't know who was on the right side of history at that time. We have no idea. And I think that is such an interesting thing to tackle. Now, something we talked about here that I would like to, or talked about in those DMs that I also want to bring up here, is this Davy Jones's Joy Boy concept that I also like a lot. What do you think about it, Dak? Talk to me. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
I like it so much, I've considered doing a full video on it. I should have done a poll on this, because I was waiting for this chapter to do the poll, because I didn't want it to like get revealed, but you know, we've kind of gone away from it, so I think I'm going to do it. But I do think it's a 50-50, but I'm leaning towards Davy being Joy Boy, because of kind of what we were saying earlier. The propaganda is so real in One Piece, and I just think for the whole story that everyone knows, that Davy Jones is this evil pirate, which I'm like, okay, all pirates are considered evil, so that's not good enough. Oh, and he's the pirate that collected all of his treasure. I'm like, oh, well, that kind of sounds like Joy Boy putting the One Piece somewhere, the greatest treasure ever. And it's like he kept it all for himself and his crewmates killed him. And I'm like, well, okay, so kept it for himself, like, so he probably hid the One Piece away somewhere. His crew killed him. Like, that could definitely be like a bastardized version of the real thing. Like, maybe there was a Domi Reversi thing and his crew got turned evil and killed him. So it's like, you could read the story and think, okay, there's a lot of things from One Piece that we've recently seen that could exonerate him for sure. And I also think, you know, his, like, Joy Boy has a real name, right? His name isn't actually Joy Boy. At least I would be shocked if his, you know, it's probably something real. And so I'm like, okay, well, what could it be? Well, if his name is Davy Jones, Jones is his first name. Like that's what people would call him. Like they say Monkey D. Luffy, you call him Luffy. And so if he's running around getting called Jones everywhere he goes, then all you need is an Ivankov type person whose importance keeps building in the story, by the way. But you have an Ivankov type person come out and just say like Jones Boy, and then shorten it to Joy Boy, and then you're like right there.
100%.
And then the last thing I'll add is, if you go and ask a random person in the One Piece world what they think of Monkey D. Luffy, what are they going to say? They're not going to be like, oh, he's a hero, he saved all these people, I won his autograph. They're going to say, oh, he's terrible. He's a scary monkey demon pirate that is, you know, just killing everybody. He just killed Vegapunk, who we all love. Like, they're not going to say good things, even though he's a good person. Like, this is just such a key theme. So that's right. Why I think he could be Joy Boy, and why I kind of like that more. But like I said, it could also be the evil side.
The main reason why I asked is because we didn't have the context of this chapter, and at the beginning of 1160, I thought it was very interesting what the Celestial Dragon said, where they said, "Oh, it's the Davy Clan. Are they Buccaneers?" And I was like, "Oh, that's so interesting, because do they associate the Davy Clan with Buccaneers? Like, like is that?" Is like their mindset to where when they think of the Davy Clan, they automatically think that, oh, they're a part of the Buccaneer tribe. So is that why Emu and the Gorosei despise the Buccaneers so much and want to get rid of them? It's because they have tie-ins with the Davy Clan, who potentially could be Davy Jones, who is Joy Boy? So I don't know, man.
And you know, building off of that, you think about like the other races that the government's gone after, the Lunarians, the Fishmen. Like we know the Fishmen are already close to to Joy Boy. In the Buccaneers, they're super close to Joy Boy, or Nika at least, which Joy Boy's obviously tied to that. Lunarians, what was King talking about? When Joy Boy's coming back and stuff, right? Like, Kaido, you could be Joy Boy. I think all these races, like kind of like we saw in the mural, I think all these races teamed up in the past with Joy Boy, and they will again, but succeed this time. But they probably all were working with him in the past, which is also why we see poneglyphs in all these different places, right? We see him in Fishman Island with the Fishmen. We see him in Wano with the Samurai. We see it in the sky, or it was technically Shandora at first, but regardless, with Sky people also. Like, all these different races have the poneglyphs also, which is definitely a Joy Boy connected thing, so... I don't know if Joy Boy like was a Buccaneer, or if they're just saying that just to, get us thinking about the connections. But that is interesting you brought that up, because that definitely makes me think Davy would be a Joy Boy type person if he's getting tied to these other races that they don't like. So that's actually really interesting.
Yeah, no, it is extremely fascinating. Going back to the Fishmen, and the possibility that Davy Jones is Joy Boy. Something I've always loved about the whole Davy Jones locker concept, the Flying Dutchman, it doesn't get any more piratey than that. And I think the rock section of this flashback is showing us is still a pirate manga to like the fullest extent.
Yes.
And besides Blackbeard, there is no greater piratey pirate than Davy Jones. So it's like, if you want the first pirate ever, and now that we know Joy Boy was the first pirate, the thing that all the Dayback fight has been named after, Davy Jones's treasure, the Davy Jones locker, the Flying Dutchman. Which, if the Flying Dutchman, is like Joy Boy's Going Merry, and that thing's at the bottom of the ocean, I'd be so heartbroken. Like, with context, whenever we get to that, like, oh man, it's like, oh, that's it hits, man.
What if we see the Mary next to it at some point, because the Mary, then they say all the ships to the sea sink down to like there eventually. So that's gotta happen. that would be so damn cool.
I'd be in pain. I'd be in so much pain.
but I'm glad you brought up the Flying Dutchman, because something else I wanted to mention is, if it is the case that Davy Jones is Joy Boy, then I think the person that we all think Davy Jones is going to be, like, who was Joy Boy's opponent, like his Blackbeard, who's that guy. Well, I think that his enemy is going to be someone who actually exemplifies Davy Jones in the way we actually think of him. And I think that could be the original Vanderdecken. Because he existed hundreds and hundreds of years ago. He sailed on the bottom of the sea, which sounds like a Davy Jones thing. He's definitely a bad guy if we're going off of what Vanderdecken, what is he, the 11th, the 9th? The 9th. He's terrible, right? Yeah. He's an awful super creep, right? He's for the, we forget him. So it's like, I think the original Vanderdecken, he's also Vanderdecken the 9th, and I'm just thinking like, 900 years ago was the start of the Void Century, so is that when the first one was around? We know he was around centuries ago, is the way they said it, I believe. So I think that could maybe be it, that he was the Davy Jones of the past, in the sense of the evil pirate who was actually bad and hurting everybody, and Joy Boy's main opponent. And then Joy Boy was Davy Jones, who was actually a good guy, and that's why there's this confusion between the two. Like, there was a bad guy, it's just not who you're attributing everything to.
It's the reason why I like this idea of Davy Jones being Joy Boy so much is because I've only ever seen Emu have that face from chapter 1155 for only one other thing. That's the Will of D. Like, when the Will of D was brought up, oh, hold on. Like, this dude's gotta die. But the fact that Rox brought up Davy Jones, Emu stopped everything and was like, "What'd you say?" Like repeat that one more time. So that's like the only thing that I could ever see Emu of in that regard, to where it interests Emu so much that it's like, okay, screw everything else. I gotta talk to this person, because this person obviously knows what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when Emu gives you like a big reaction, like, you're on to something. Like whenever Cobra rolled in and then Emu sat down. I mean, he didn't even know who Emu was, so it was gonna be shocking no matter what. But that's when you knew it was game on. Like, okay, I'm on to something if Emu's coming out and getting interested in what's happening. So yeah, man,
100%.
I kind of hope. I mean, I'll be okay either way, but I kind of hope at this point Joy Boy is Davy Jones, just because I don't know, man. To know Blackbeard is related to Joy Boy and Luffy isn't, but Luffy is like him and Blackbeard's the opposite, and like it's just that whole inherited will thing.
It's so
exactly.
One Piece, bro.
Yep, 100. That's why I want it, man.
Before we get off the Davy Jones and Blackbeard topic, I wanted to ask you in regards to Blackbeard, his special body, and why he can have multiple fruits. Do you think he attained that knowledge through this thing that we were talking about, through like this thing that's been passed down, potentially like Odin's logbook, but for the Davy family, on maybe their bodies have like a special property that will allow them to house multiple fruits? Do you think that's where Blackbeard got that knowledge from?
That's a really good question, man. I want to say yes, because like most of the races that we meet, like these special races, there is a special something about them, right? Lunarians are like indestructible almost, and have like they can use fire and whatever. Fishmen can breathe in the water, and they're like stronger than a human. Sky people, like the Birkins, I don't, can they fly? I mean, because they have bigger wings. The other ones can't, but they have bigger wings, so they might be able to. Either way, point is, like, all these races do have special attributes. But for Blackbeard and stuff, it's like, what is the Davy family? Is it literally just a regular race of humans that's related to him? Or is there a special something about them? So I tend to believe that, yeah, that's the odds-on favorite, I would say, is the Davy family has something special with their body that lets them do that. And then he probably got it through, like we said, like that document, that text that they passed down, if there is something. I don't know if it could also be like maybe Rox just, even if it's not the document, Rox found like poneglyphs and read them, and that tells him something. I don't know, but I think that's probably it, because you also think back to Rox saying, "I'm seeking 2 devil fruits." It's like, okay, he didn't say he was gonna eat 2, but I think you could maybe read between the lines and think like, well, if he's looking for 2, does he know that he can have 2 because of his lineage, and then he passed that down to his son? So I think so. What you got? What you got?
What about if Rox says right before he dies, "Davy Jones, I tried so hard to find your fruit, and I couldn't find it." What do you think that would mean for like the Joy Boy Davy Jones connection? Let's just say he says like, "Oh, I tried so hard to find your fruit that was made of gum properties," or whatever it was, or like something that showcases the fruit that Rox is looking for.
Wait. What if he says, like, okay. I don't know how he would word it, but you know how the Yami Yami and the Gomu or the Nika fruit, whatever, look kind of similar? Yeah. Like they're purple fruits with a bunch of swirls. Like, imagine there's some way that gets lost in translation where, like, he says, like, I've been looking for this fruit that Joy Boy had, this purple fruit with these whatever, and Blackbeard overhears it, and that's why he's like, all right, I'm going to go look in the encyclopedia for this fruit. And then he's, because dude, and remember they said that the gum was never in the encyclopedia or whatever, or the Nika fruit, whatever he said. And so what did Blackbeard like? Well, this is the only purple fruit with the swirls, so then I got to go look for that one. And that goes to what we're saying is like they had it mixed up all along, right? Like Davy Jones is Joy Boy. He went the complete opposite way. Like, and I think it goes to that lesson of like, I don't know how to word this, but like he's trying too hard to emulate this original person. He's not being himself. Like Luffy's like, I want to be free. I want to be the freest person, and that's all I care about. I'm going to save all my friends and help the world. That's it. Like I don't care about who these other people are, whatever. I'm myself. And Blackbeard, if that's true, he's like, well, I'm trying to emulate Davy. I'm trying to emulate my dad Rox. I'm trying to build on all these legends and do what they did. It's like, well, now you're going down the wrong path. Like now you're getting lost in the sauce with all this other stuff.
Right.
But what if the Nika fruit and the Yami Yami were at God Valley, like one of the prizes, and then somehow there Blackbeard thinks that he like meant the Gomu or meant the Yami Yami, but he actually meant the Gomu in some context. Like, okay, so I got to go get that fruit later, right? What do you think? Are you a believer that the Yami Yami is going to be there, or even the Nika fruit? Either of those?
I think one of them has to be there. If not there, literally. They will be talked of, like whether it be Rox, speaking of one of them, or maybe even Emu as well. because let's just say Emu possesses Goonko,
Yes.
is fighting Rocks, and like Rocks says something like, "Oh, if I had such and such fruit, you would have more of a problem, right? Like, oh, like this is the fruit that you
Oh.
actually fear." You know what I'm saying?
You know, while we're talking about the fruits, I just want to get your thoughts. What do you think about Oda retconning? Because I think it is a retcon. The 6 fruits to 9 fruits, like, and I mean, I'm happy Oda just kind of ripped the Band-Aid off, right? He's like, I'm just gonna put 9. I don't need to explain. I don't need to go say, oh, they wheeled 3 extra in late. Just throw 3 more there and just get it started. You know, what do you think about that?
What that tells me, Dak, is those 3 he added are going to be very, very important. Like,
I agree.
I don't know it to the point to where Oda understood. Yes, this is what I put, but if I did it that way, it wouldn't connect with the story I'm trying to tell. So whatever those 3 are, oh man. So what that tells me is Kaido's fruit's not one of those 3. All of the fruits he originally had in mind is not one of those 3. So the 3 that are there have to connect to either what's happening present day on Elbaf or what's about to happen post Elbaf that we're going to see in some capacity or way, shape, or form. So I don't know what the 3 fruits are going to be, but in regards to the retcon itself, we know Oda's a man of consistency, and though he's had definitely his moments where there's something that he has to fix and talk about in SBS, like, oh my bad, I forgot about this or did that. He's human after all. But that this one's such a clear retcon, it had to have been like, screw it, I don't care about consistency, this has to happen. So whatever is in those chests is extremely important.
I agree.
Extremely important.
I agree. Like, we're not going to get some random one-off fruits that never ended up mattering here. Like, all 9, well, 7 new ones, because we already know 2. They're all going to be very important. And I get, while we're on the topic, not that we have to guess every single one, because it's going to be hard, but let's talk about what you expect here. I'm going to bring up some Discord questions. Shout out Bushido. I was talking to him in the Discord earlier, and he brought it up, and we were like, that'd be a good redacted question for us to talk about. So it was the most recent one. So shout out Bushido. We'll talk about this. We'll get to the other ones because this one's got a lot of upvotes. So I don't know. I haven't read that one, but hey, if you got 4 upvotes, that's pretty solid that quick. But anyways, he just wants to know what do we think the 7 chests are? And for me, I did a video on this, and I think the Shadow Fruit, the Love Fruit, the Flame Fruit.
Yes.
So wait, Love, Flame, Shadow, and Op Fruit. I think those are all really good guesses. But like the other 3, man, I mean, Dragon's Fruit, we've been talking about that one. Killingham's Fruit is another one I've been thinking about. Maybe Crocodiles or someone. I don't know. I got lots of ideas. Do you have any agendas for these fruits?
So I have, my number 1 you already took, which was the Shadow one. The Gecko Moria fruit has to be in there, bro. It has to be one of those 9.
I agree.
We've been focusing on it. Oda's been saying, hey, remember Gecko Moria? Hey, remember Thriller Bark? Hey, that thing has to be in one of those chests. So, and I think it's very clear context clues. And then my other, I'm not going to say agenda, but I think Shamrock's Cerebus fruit that he fed his sword, I think is in one of those chests as well.
Okay.
I would dare say. Especially if Killingham's in one of them too. I would say so is Shamrock's.
Yeah, because in this chapter we saw that Summers, like, he used his powers in this chapter, so we know he doesn't get his from the chest, right? And we also saw Gunko use her powers at some point, right? We saw the arrows flying through everybody. So we know that they don't get them here, but we haven't seen the other ones. And so you do think that the Cerberus thing is a devil fruit? Because I'm still unconvinced. Not that, I mean, who knows with the way these powers are working, what the hell is going on anymore, but I feel like it's not one, but I mean, I'm not convinced, I guess.
I know, I get it, because the Godosei have completely changed the way that I think, of the way like fruits could work within the series, especially coming from the Holy Knights. I think the reason why I think the Cerebus one is because of Oda being so silly in regards to giving like the elephant sword, the fruit, and all of that. Right. The consistency throughout the course of the series has been, I think, in that regard, sword, Shamrock being like, I'm not going to eat the fruit, but the sword feels like a funny thing to humanize Shamrock. And I think that's that is what Oda might do to allow us some sort of measure of sympathy with an individual who's been a part of an organization. By the way, hold on, before we talk about that, I just have to get this off my chest. Shamrock, look at what Dragon did for you. Look at what your mom did for you. How could you go back with those flagons? If Shamrock does not have like a greater plan in mind to screw over the whole, or we this great moment where Shamrock has a face turn, what is wrong with him? How could he do this? Anyways, that's just my rant.
No, dude. I'm so glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about this at some point because somebody brought this up in the Discord earlier in some way, shape, or form. But what is the story here on where Shamrock goes? Like, is Shamrock gonna go just with Garling, or does he go with like some kind of bad people? Because remember how Shanks eventually went back to the Holy Land for a little while and then left again? Well, does Shamrock do something similar? Like, does Shamrock go with some other bad people as a baby and then eventually find himself in Marijwalk? But like, so him and Shanks are approaching the same place but from different directions in the sense of like, you know, like they both go. Shamrock's like, oh yeah, this is what I'm all about, like bad, evil stuff. And Shanks is like, oh, this is not for me. Like, I've learned the good ways from being with Roger and everything. Or does he just go with Garling right away and get put into the Gods Knights, right? Because I think in both cases, like, not that I'm gonna, you know, like forgive him for what he's done, but like in both cases, it's like, it just shows that like the nature versus nurture thing. Like, Shanks went with good people and didn't end up bad. Shamrock went with bad people, ended up bad. Boom, now you're kind of seeing the difference. So yeah, what do you think about just Shamrock's fate, I guess, after this?
I love what you just brought up there, because it reminded me of what Shanks' mom said, which was, please take them to, what was it, good-hearted, warm-hearted people? I forgot what the exact thing was.
I think it was
this chapter.
I'm going to look it up right now. I think it was good-hearted. And by the way, that scene is like 50 Shades of the Roger and Garp scene with Ace, where he's like, take care of my son.
Yes.
Because he recognized Garp 100%. Had a good heart. And it's the same thing. Dragon recognized Roger had a good heart. And so Roger actually thought of that Garp thing because of Dragon. And he's like, I'm going to give my son to Dragon's dad because Dragon was a good dude. Oh, Oda's cooking, man.
He's cooking.
A warm heart. Man. Warm heart. That's what she said. And TCB at least. Yeah.
So, I really like what you said, because let's just say one of the two scenarios can happen, obviously. Like you said, he could have been a part of a really bad group of pirates that Dragon had a misjudgment of character, where he was like, oh, these people may seem like, or maybe he's hesitant, and he's like, I don't know if I should give them to these people. But ultimately, he ends up going with them, maybe because he's rushed out the door, and ultimately ends up like regretting it or something. And he ends up giving Shamrock to, I don't know, some pirate out there that ends up mistreating Shamrock, and
one of the Rocks pirates that escapes.
One of the Rocks pirates, right? Like, imagine any of them with Shamrock. It's like, well, I'm used to chaos and violence and all this stuff. So whenever I come back, you didn't go through the Roger journey where Shanks learned to become a man thanks to Roger. Like, no, Shamrock learned probably a whole bunch of other stuff and then went back to the Holy Land. Or it is just the pure blood nature. Maybe like right before Dragon gave Roger both Shamrock and Shanks, Garling showed up and took one, but Dragon managed to get out there with the other because of the win-win fruit. Let's just say we go with that theory. So he manages to save Shanks. He was unable to forgive himself. To be like, oh man, like I couldn't save both of them. Forgive me, Shanks' mom. And Garling takes one son at least back. So I wonder how that would play out from Garling's perspective, because it seems like he's already tossed them away. So what would cause him to be like, no, I actually want them back? Mm-hmm. So I don't know what's going to be Garling's mindset. I don't know if it's going to be maybe a direct order from a superior like an Evo or Garcia Saturn, who's like, no, you need to collect both of those back or something, right? I don't know the way it's going to play out, but I think ultimately maybe going down the route of the pure blood, mainly because I think back to Shamrock and what he said when he was talking about Shanks, of like, oh, you're the one that went around with those pirates for all that length of time, and like Like you've sullied yourself, you've dirtied yourself. So I feel like he may just be someone that's always been a part of the Holy Land, and in a way, like you said, that he was just raised by these people to believe in certain things in this way. And it's just the way that he was brought up. But I love both ideas equally because just imagine we cut out of the God Valley stuff and we see Shanks with Roger, but we see Shamrock with like the worst of the worst, and it's like, well, I can't blame him now.
Right.
You know. Both of them are very One Piece, so I'm down for either one. I just wonder if, like I said, going back to the Garling thing, I wonder what would cause Garling to want to bring his kids back into the picture, and especially with how high of a rank Shamrock is now. You know, what caused his change of heart? What caused him to be different? Because obviously, I think God Valley incident also changed Garling, because Garling today is very different from Garling back then. Garling back then was pure Celestial Dragon, like he is a Flagnard. But the Garling right now feels a little different. He's still a Flagnard, but he feels like he's more. He's not all, oh, the great one, oh, the great Emu. Now he's a little more like, if the Gorosei want to screw with me, I'll screw with them. So I wonder if the God Valley incident, going back to your comments at the beginning of this discussion, how it's reverberated throughout every single thing within the verse. I would say that's not necessarily just reserved to the pirates. I think even the very own people, like Garling, were affected. Like, dang, am I doing something wrong here? Like is this like what is going on? So I think we might even see a moment where Garling has a moment of like potentially questioning his own morality, and maybe not to like a full extent, because we saw what he did with Shanks' mom, and he's a Flagnard for that. But I think he may come to, like, the entire incident itself, everything that happens, cause him to start that change, similar to how Dragon started his own change, and how Roger and Rock showing up started their own changes that would cause waves. I think Garling may have started his change here thanks to the God Valley incident as well. That may start with him collecting Shamrock.
And you know, you just made me think of an interesting kind of theory. But do you think there could be a situation here on God Valley where the Gods Knights, which we got to talk about their designs here in a second, by the way, that's like the highlight of the chapter. But while we're on the Shamrock topic specifically, or Garling topic, I should say. Do you think there could be a situation where what happens with the Gods Knights ends up kind of paralleling what happened with CP0 in Egghead? Remember how like Lucci and Kaku are now kind of questioning, at least I would imagine, we haven't seen them reflect on it that much, but I think they clearly are, where they're like, wow, like they were really ready to just throw us away because of their goals, and like they did not care about saving us in the midst of all this. Like they care about themselves and their operation. Like we are literally nothing to them. And I think to a degree they always knew that. I think they all kind of know that, or like they're probably told that. But I think it's another thing when you actually get in that moment. You know, I think there could be a layer there where he leaves knowing like, okay, these guys really don't give a damn about me. Like they only care about their operation. So I need to start thinking more calculated, like what my future goals are. And maybe he's been angling for the Gorosei spot this whole time. Because I'm not saying he's a traitor necessarily, but where he's like, if I am going to make this what I want it to be, I can't be this position. Right. I need to be a higher position to change it into what I believe. Or it could be the opposite too, where maybe they weren't harsh enough at some point, and they're like, well, I need to get to the highest rank because we are not, you know, doing enough damage to everybody. Like there's too much freedom or something. So there could be that angle too. But I like the CP0 thing because I feel like the Gods Knights, at least for Gunko, I feel like she is going to eventually change to be, I don't know 100%. If she'll, join the crew or whatever, but I think she's definitely going to flip a little, because she already kind of did with the Brook thing. That's why Emu jumped in. So I think we're going to get a little humanization of the Gods Knights, a little reflection on like what's really happening. Definitely. Not that they feel bad about the people. Like Gunko might once the brainwashing wears off, but I think they not that, but I think they'll think more about whether they were cast to the side, whether they approve of the goals they're having, right? I do think there's going to be some reflection.
I agree 100% because it's something we talked about in our discussion in the Emu chapter, where we talked about the Domi Reversi concept and how that's going to work against Emu in the future. Because there's going to be a natural Domi Reversi that Luffy's going to do flipping a whole bunch of people to his side that Emu can't do. And so after this chapter, though, seeing the God's Blade, there's multiple different translations for it, but the I forgot what the God's Steel, being for Gunko as like the right hand, the individual obviously in the flower chamber that is always with Emu, for that person to potentially flip to the other side, I wonder how that will affect Emu's psyche. Like, because I wonder, Kaido, which is why I'm so excited for what's about to happen. Kaido was obviously affected by the betrayal that happens here on God Valley, and it affected him deeply. So I wonder if Emu was betrayed in the past, would Gunko turning on Emu cause Emu to have a moment kind of like Kaido did of like, oh, you betrayed me too, type of thing, or like because Emu seems like a person who just wants direct control with no opposition, right? This is why this person has been doing this for so many years. So for somebody to question / betray is like unacceptable. So I'm curious on how we're going to attack this, because there's already so many things going on with both the God's Knights and with Rox's crew. And I think one really cool way for us to bring them both together like that would be to explore how Emu and his individuals and Rox and his individuals deal with the idea of betrayal, because that is such an important key factor. But I want to hear your thoughts on Gunko, because I know you're a big Afro and Brook guy.
Which
now you go ahead. I'll let you cook. Just off that. I'll let you cook.
No. Okay. Well, all I was gonna say real quick, because I will let you finish, because I'm curious on what your question was. But I just wanted to butt in and just say, I don't know if you noticed, but Rox's figurehead on his ship is a skull with a crack in its skull, just like Brook's, and there's like little bits of hair as if its hair was ripped out. So I don't know what that's all about. I'm gonna be. I might as well pull it up for everybody. I don't know what that's all about.
Yeah, pull it up.
I like that. So shout out Tiny Angry Gnome from my Discord who brought this up, but you can see at the top here.
I see it.
So you see there's the crack going down to top left down, and then there's little bits of hair at the top. What? I mean, dude, I don't know.
Brook upscale, baby.
I don't know what to make of that. I'm gonna be real. Like that was kind of shocking, but hey, Brook upscale. But okay, so you said you want me to talk about Gunko and then Brook, and was there anything else?
Yeah. So my question in regards to that is, because obviously we talked about that back when the chapter dropped, but now with the context of the Loki and Rox flashback, where do you think Oda? Because obviously he has 2 flashbacks that he's built up within Elbaf. He has the one we're currently in, the Gunko flashback. Do you think the Gunko flashback happens in this flashback where we switch point of views to Gunko? We see it from her perspective, or when Gunko gets the natural Domi Reversi we're all expecting, and the face turn that like maybe brings Emu out of the body, causes the real Gunko to pop back. Is that where we get the backstory? Where do you think we get Gunko's backstory?
So it's a little bit of headcanon or maybe hopium, but I think it's some good hopium. I think it's some high quality, I'm talking pure hopium, where it will be after the God Valley incident. I think we're going to end this. We'll go fight Emu. And my opinion on Elbaf is like, I don't know if it'll be separate acts like Wano was, but I think once we get done with this flashback and we go and deal with Emu, I think there's going to be like a breather, like it'll be the end of Act 1 per se once we get rid of Emu, however that is. Like Emu's not going to lose, but freeing Gunko from this spell, this brainwashing, this whatever it is, that's going to be what beats Emu, quote unquote, because it just gets her free so the Emu can't be on the island anymore, I think is the main thing we got to do. So I think there's going to be like a breather after that, and then maybe that's where we get more lore. We go to the Heaven Realm, we meet Yuru, Janelle, all those guys. So anyway, I think once we figure out this Gunko Emu thing, that's where we're going to get that flashback. And I'm really glad you brought all this up. Well, first, before I get to that, let me just say the hopium, the pure hopium. This is really where the high quality stuff comes from. Is I think the way that's going to work is they're going to have a hard time with Emu. I think Emu's going to really cook. I don't know if the guys are going to be able to handle that Gunkmu, whatever you want to call it. But I think Brook is going to walk out playing some song. I don't know if it'll be New World. I don't know if it'll be a song from their past that they used to sing together. I don't know if it'll be Bink Sake, but it's going to be something that resonates with Gunkmoo. And I think that's where Gunko's going to fight back, and Imu's going to be like, wait, what the hell is happening? So it's going to be a Brook moment, I think, where Brook, only because it's Gunko. If it was anybody else, it wouldn't matter, but because Brook can appeal to the true Gunko within, I think that will, free her from the Imu thing, and that's probably where we'll get the flashback, because maybe Gunko, it might be a thing where we get a little bit where she flashes back to Brook and her singing that song, and maybe like what their island was called, and like a little bit of context. And then maybe once she gets freed, she passes out for a while, and then maybe we'll get the full flashback like later in the arc whenever she wakes up and stuff like that, maybe. But the thing I wanted to say also, tying to that real quick, because I wanted your opinion on this in general. What is the process behind the Gods Knights visiting these islands and having kids, and then those kids eventually becoming Gods Knights, right? Like Shamrock's our only perfect example, like where we've seen the full process. But Garling went and visited this island, hooked up with some girl. She had kids. He obviously didn't care about her at all. Like, he had no actual plans to have a family. And then somehow one of his kids ends up becoming a God's Knight. And then you look at Gunko. She's also from the Man-Mayor family, which we don't know, which I kind of presumed was an adoption thing. But is it that somebody visited Brooks Island? A Man-Mayor God's Knight visited Brooks Island, got somebody pregnant, they had Gunko, they came back to cleanse Brooks Island, took the girl back, and so it's the same story. So is that how they all do it? Is it just happen? Like, do they do it on purpose? Is it happenstance just because, like, maybe they go and visit islands all the time and hook up with whoever because they're just, like, sexual deviants? But maybe because they go back and cleanse these islands, they do get the kids because it's like, I'm going back there, I'm taking everyone else out, I might as well bring my kid back and see if they can, be useful or whatever. Is that, I don't know, what do you think that process is?
That's so interesting. So I'll tackle two things here. Number one, I want to go back to your Brooke comment and why I love that so much. Because we have been so consistent in this arc with the whole God and Devil thing that Oda's been going for. Specifically with Imu, especially after this chapter. The Knights of God, God's Blade. Imu clearly sees himself as the god of the One Piece verse. I think Oda's been playing on so many different things from reality into the story utilizing this, that the thing is so interesting to me, because there was something back in the 1970s where rock music was known as like death music you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So to like a lot of individuals in that time period, and I think for Oda, who plays on the words of, okay, what exactly are these two things? And so for Imu, what would devil music be? Because for the argument that they used in the 70s was that the music brainwashes the youth.
Right.
So what would be Oda's way of doing that is if Brooke comes in, starts playing, I don't care if it's Bink Sake, New World, any of these, but it would be Imu being like, that blasted devil music. Like, I can't stand it because it's brainwashing my people. And I think if Oda's going to have a play on that concept in any way, shape, or form, it would come so naturally for Brooke and Gunko in that moment, for him to be able to play on something that actually happened when he was growing up, which was in the 70s. And I think that would be really, really interesting to bring up through someone like Brooke in the series.
I love that. And I do want you to answer the other thing, but now that you're cooking, I do have to include something. So, because we brought this up in my stream as well. I forget who exactly said it or what the context was, but in One Piece, music has been shown to like affect your emotions to the point where it gets you to fight back. Like, it's been specifically said it gets you to fight. Right, it's like when Brooke landed on Namakuri Island or whatever it was called in the time skip. He landed, and the cover story basically said like he landed on the island of the people who don't fight back or something like that. And then we see him writing a song with a dude like showing his boxers as like tribute behind him, which is kind of funny. But But he's writing a song, and then in the actual manga, it shows us the next step of that cover story, because the cover stories were only 2 pages, and then the manga picked up on them, but whatever. And then it shows us where those people captured their enemies. Like, because of Brook's music, they succeeded, and they even said, like, "Wow, we've never done it before, but your music like got us, really motivated, and we went and fought them, and wow, like we won." And so it shows you right there, like, where Gunko might be thinking to herself, like, okay, like, this is motivating me to fight back in a way. Like, it's reaching me, like, getting me emotional enough. Whether that's because of their past, whether it's kind of like you said, like this devil music thing. Maybe it's a top musica thing where it's like anti-summoning, like it sends back email. There's a lot of cool thing. I kind of prefer it's Bink Sake, just because, like, that might tell us that. Because it might say that Bink Sake is like an ancient song that Joy Boy sang, and Emu. Because it might be a double thing. Oh, wait, we're cooking now. It might be a double effect where Gunko's like, oh, like Bink Sake, that's what Brooke sang. Like, those are from like my happy days. Like, I want to fight back now. Oh. But then Emu might be thinking the opposite. Like, oh no. Like, this is the last song I want to hear. Like, this brings back nightmares.
That song.
And so it's both.
Anything
like
with the song.
Yeah, one, like, Gunko's fighting, Emu's giving up, and that's why they separate. Is like the perfect song. And then Brooke, because remember Brooke also like with the chess keepers and Whole Cake. We already know he like separates souls from bodies that are like that are taking it over or whatever, right? He can like he knows how to affect those things. So I just think Brooke coming in, singing some Bink Sake, and just sending Emu back like that. Oh, dude, what a feat for Brooke.
Dude, the biggest Brooke upscale we could ever get is right before Emu leaves. He's like, "Oh, that's the modern day Binks." It's like, like that Joy Boy's Binks.
if that
he's
happens,
just like, oh man.
Oh, King Recon, if that happens, I'm gonna have to go to your house and get the Santa hat and the jerseys.
That's right.
And like, I'm serious, dude. I will ascend. I'll just fly through the ceiling. If Emu's like, you remind me of Binks, I might just rapture to heaven that second. Like, oh my god, dude. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the other question? The origin of the Gods Knights, because if we're wondering what the origins of them are, it might be good to consider what they look like. Did I just pass it? I might have passed it. Because oh my god, like, who is this guy in the back? Who's the Yeti demon? Who is that? We also got. I feel like everyone's kind of settling on this being Killingham's mom or something like that. This person in the back right. With like the split hair kind of. Then we got Roto's dad. I don't know who else this is. Yes. You know what I mean? Then we got Gunko's mom or sister or whoever here, and Summers, and then I don't know who this girl is in the front with the triangle sword, but I part of me wonders if that could end up being Mihawk's mom, but I don't know. But anyways,
that'd be nice.
What are your thoughts on the origins of these guys, and what the hell's going on with some of these designs?
Yeah, I'm so interested with what you were talking about earlier, and the idea of the Gods Knights specifically, because we see how they all are. We see how all the Celestial Dragons are. They see someone attractive. I want that to be my wife. I don't care if they're married. I don't care who they are. They do not care. So what I'm interested in is if the Gods Knights, or not even just the Gods Knights, the Celestial Dragons in general, if they sort of indoctrinate their population to sort of be that way, because they don't want to have so many inbreds that are just Celestial Dragons, that they want to cross, that they do want to crossbreed. They do want to have Celestial Dragons / Lunarians, Celestial Dragons / Fishmen, Celestial Dragons / whatever, to the point to where they invite that because they want to have their influence everywhere. And I wonder if that's what Oda's saying with that Gods Knights spread. Because it is so interesting that specifically only with the Gods Knights, it feels like almost everyone in that spread has like some sort of half thing going on, in some way, shape, or form. So it's it fascinates me with what Oda could potentially be going for with the origin specifically with the Gods, because it may not be that way for all Celestial Dragons, because they might see certain things as like beneath them, right. But for the Gods Knights who seem more They're still Flagnards, but they all like Garling, for example. He didn't hesitate for a second for Shaggy. I'm sure maybe for like someone else to be like, oh, well, no, maybe not Shaggy. Because Shaggy's like the treasure of the world. Maybe that's a bad example.
Yeah.
But for like another human, they would be like, oh, maybe this person's beneath me or whatever. Whereas like God's Knights
Right.
are like, we don't give a flying Flagnards. You know, we don't care what race it is, whatever. It's all a part of our strategy anyway. So I think it's one of two things. Either it's a part of the Celestial Dragons just not caring. They don't care who they breed with. They just do not care, and they want influence everywhere. Or if it's an order from birth of like, yes, whoever you see, what they're mate with. There's no one that can stop you. You are like the entire earth is your land. Do with it as you please. Like, wonder if
Right.
you're indoctrinated in that way to feel that way. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think the mystery is like which like do they even seek out the kids that they have? You know what I mean? Like that's like the mystery. Is like are there just tons of celestial or God's Knight children, I should say, out there that just don't even know they're the children of a God's Knight? Like they just had like a single parent and have no idea who the other parent is. And I guess most of the time it would be they know their mom because like logistically, you know, if the female God's Knights go out and do the same thing, like they're gonna have the baby in the Holy Land, and then that's unless they go back and have the baby there and then leave it with the dad or whatever. Like that's like a little bit more convoluted. But as far as the guys going out, like are there just God's Knight half children all throughout the world? Because that's what I'm starting to wonder. Like, you know, I brought up that woman like Mihawk's mom, for example, because there's theories for a long time that maybe Rayleigh and Shaggy's kid is Mihawk, which technically is possible, but since Rayleigh and Shaggy aren't together yet and Mihawk's 5 years old at the time God Valley happened, I kind of doubt that that's happening now.
Right.
So I'm like, is that person maybe Mihawk's mom? And then also Mr. Bushido has brought this up in the Discord quite a few times, but like Lucci. Could Lucci be the son of a God's Knight? Because he's like been an assassin since he was a little kid. Like he has a screw loose, man. He's psychotic, right? Like he's kind of like a God's Knight in the sense of not caring about taking these people out. I mean, he's in CP0, so he ended up in a very similar spot than the God's Knights. Like he's just basically one rank below them is kind of the way I view it almost, right? CP0 is like very close. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. Like I think there might just be a whole slew of half God's Knights kids, and maybe they come back to bite the God's Knights in the sense of like, yeah, all that bad stuff you did, all those, you know, women you forced to do whatever, well, those kids are coming back for revenge on you now because they're strong and stuff because you didn't really think that they might do that. I don't know. I'm very intrigued.
Consequences of their actions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I want to see.
Because you're right. Like Bonnie being one of them, obviously, is an individual who's definitely going to bring the pain on them. At one point, Shanks is going to bring the pain on them. You know what I'm saying? Like these are characters who were born of this process that you're talking about, and we know are going to come back to bite them for the consequences of their actions.
Yeah, I would love that. And maybe that's what the God's Knights like battles end up being. You know, a lot of people are already starting their like final matchups for the end of the story. You know, they're starting to think about who's going to fight the God's Knights. I think it might be kind of cool if the matchups end up being like the people that need to get revenge on them for some reason, like their kids that they left behind, or people from islands that they've gone and tried to delete or take over, and you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of opportunity there. So like, I'm very intrigued to see where Oda goes, but I really want your thoughts specifically on the Yeti Demon, because do you think that's a guy with his own fruit, or do you think that's actually a race?
I think that's a race. I don't think that's his own fruit, dude. I think that's a race.
I hope so, but like, bro, what are we talking about right now? Like, what race is this? I don't even know where to start, man. Brother. I mean, one thing that people brought up that I think is a good parallel to think about, if I can pull it up quickly. Let's see here. Fuga from Wano. Remember Fuga?
Yes, Fuga.
Right here, this guy on the right. So he's kind of similar shaped horns. You got the bushy hair, the same kind of teeth. He just doesn't have the wings, and he's also centaur. I mean, I always get this confused. The centaur minotaur. He's got the horse legs, which one that is. So I don't know if that's maybe a connection. but
listen, I think we could. I mean, Oni. Let's just say he is an Oni. Let's just say the character is an Oni, and from the Oni race of that originates back from Onigashima. Then we could also the Fuga comparison makes total sense as someone who's also one of the numbers because that may just be intentional. And so,
yeah.
listen, man,
Well,
this Wano cover story, the Kozuki Moria thing, we're cooking something with all this stuff, whether it's the Onis or whatever. We're cooking something.
And we know that the numbers were like experiments from ancient giants. And what if this guy is one of the people that was experimented on, and Fuga is just a result of him, like a clone or experiment almost?
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the numbers to kind of come back. You know what I mean? Like because they were mentioned and like we kind of skipped over them. I feel like in Wano,
Yeah, no doubt.
And so I got a couple other thoughts for you here before we head out, and I want to start with the God Steel situation, right? So I'm going to head over to the Discord portion of it here because I know a few people asked about it. So Hamza here, I know he brought it up, so we'll use his comment.
Yep.
So he actually brought up the Dracula family. We just talked about them, so that was some future sight. But why do you think Gunko is called God Steel specifically? Because is it just the Emu control thing? That's what I'm wondering. Is that the only person Emu can control? And then another question, shout out Tiny Angry Gnome, which builds onto this, another potential option. Could it be that Gunko is a Neurona, and that's actually Gunko's like true bloodline? Because we know Gunko's a man mayor now, but could that be an adoption thing? Because like, Emu might be the only Neurona publicly, but maybe it's like similar bloodline than Emu, and that's why. Because it could also be that like Gunko is like half man mayor, half Neurona or something. You know what I mean? So they're called man mayor, but could that be part of the reason why Gunko is like the God Steel, this chosen one that seems to be some special person, right? That Emu can control. Is that? What are your thoughts on that in general? Why is Emu or why is Gunko so important?
So I haven't been able to stop thinking about Gunko since all this stuff started happening. Gunko's introduction reminds me so much, in a smaller scale, of Blackbeard's. And what I mean by that is, when Blackbeard was first introduced, we were like, oh man. And then we saw him again, we're like, oh. Like, another level of intrigue. Then Blackbeard showed up again, I was like, oh! Like, and the pieces started slowly but surely coming into play. And Gunko feels that way because every single time we see this character, there's some sort of level of importance to, and it goes to the first time we ever saw this character, which is when we first saw the Flower Chamber, before we knew that this was Gunko. And so I think, number one, back to the God Steel thing for the first question, I think that literally means like God's sword. And the reason why I think that is, we're back in chapter 1085 when Sabo came in and both Cobra and Sabo were hit by an arrow. We were all wondering after Gunko's introduction, does that mean that Emu took over Gunko's body at that point? But it might just be that anytime Emu needs any type of offense to take place, Gunko's the first person that gets called up, because Gunko is Emu's blade, like the individual that moves on Emu's behalf whenever Emu needs to get something done. Similar to like how Luffy would refer to Zoro as like his first man of action, Rayleigh being Roger's first man of action. Like so I wonder if the nickname is just for because what I think endgame One Piece looks like is that we're gonna have Emu's shield is the Gorosei, and Emu's sword is the God's Knights. So if that's the case, and Gunko is like at the head of that as an individual who directly serves Emu, then it would make sense that this person, especially with this Neurona comment that you just brought up, is Emu's sword. Whereas Luffy's gonna have his shield being the Straw Hats and his sword being, the shield being like the rest of the Alliance and his sword being the Straw Hats. I think that's what we're leaning towards in the game because of the whole Nika shield and sword thing. But going back to the Neurona comment, I love that so much because just like what you just brought up, I've also been wondering, why Gunko? Well, it feels like Emu should be able to do this to anyone. If Emu is that powerful and able to do this to anyone, then why not take over Shamrock? Why not take over Garland?
Right.
Why not take over Saturn and the Gorosei? There's something specific to this character, and I think it's one of two things. You brought up the idea and the possibility of Gunko potentially having been resurrected at some point.
Yeah.
That may have something to do with it, if that is the case. But if it's not that, then the Neurona bloodline being able to have people jump from body to body would be game changing, because that would mean for us, what does that mean for Void Sentry implications? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Had the Neurona bloodline been jumping from generation to generation, having, inhabiting bodies as vessels so that they can prolong their lives. And that would explain, if that is the case, that would explain why we haven't seen Emu's full silhouette or full body, because maybe that silhouette is Emu and he can only inhabit things as like vessels, like a Gunko or whatever. So I don't know. I love that Neurona idea, because her being the latest Neurona and having either the immortality fruit, or that would also explain why she's been alive for so long. I just love that idea, because there is no character, not Shamrock, besides Loki and Rox. The one character that's had more upscale than any other character in this arc is Gunko. So It's like, why the focus on this character? A character that is connected to Brooke, a character that has a connection to a Straw Hat, and directly serves Emu. It's like, bro, this is a very, very important character. So
yes,
I'm good. I like the Neurona. I like the Neurona idea, and like I said, going back to the God Sword concept, I love that just being the epithet for the person who serves Emu at that point as like the direct servant, because obviously the God's Knights and the Gorosei, they serve as like the political servants, to quote unquote. But this person is someone who sleeps with Emu, like protects Emu while Emu is sleeping. So it's like, that's the closest thing you could possibly get.
Yeah,
to me.
And you think about, remember, Summers was called like the dagger of Marijwa, or dagger of the world government or something. And so now we have God's steel, which like a sword or steel. I think it implies weapon or sword, but they just said steel in the translation. Right. But it's like, that's like a level up from a dagger. So is there like a story there where like, are all the God's Knights going to be like smaller weapons? Like we were joking in my stream about like, is there going to be like God's shovel, God's scissors? You know, like we're just going to start getting like random items, like God's cheese grater, and then it's just, but we have God's sword here, which is obviously number one. And I think it'd be interesting going back to like the resurrection idea, or just kind of all those different theories about it being a Neurona, is like, if the idea is like, you know, Emu maybe has been like getting new vessels over time, like throughout all of these centuries to like survive, like maybe Emu's been just using Neuronas over and over because like it's like easier to control like the similar bloodline, like you're familiar with the body, or there's something where like with lineage factor that makes it better. Like there could be some reason we aren't aware of, or like it's better to have family members, and maybe they're hard to find because maybe Emu isn't having the kids, but like, you know, you got to go out and go find them or something. So and that might even be the reason why Brooke's home island got cleansed, because maybe it's similar to the Davy clan, where it's like, we got to go take all the Neuronas out of there and kick everyone out who might have heard about that. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want anyone knowing that the Neuronas even exist or whatever, so we got to erase them. And so then maybe Brooke later will come out and be like, oh wait, Neurona, I've heard that name. And then he's like one of the only people, which by the way, thematically, like narratively, going back to like Gunko maybe being resurrected, I would love it, because it's the same thing Brooke has done, right? And I think that's a big thorn in Emu's side, where, like, at least the way I'm kind of viewing it is like, you know, with Gunko remembering Brooke and like getting those memories to come back that caused Emu to, you know, come in. It's like, well, Emu probably thought there was nobody left in the world that knew Gunko, right? Emu was probably under the assumption that everyone Gunko knew died because of the island, and then it's been so long since then that everyone just died out. So like, there's no one who's going to recognize her. But Brooke, he died and came back, right? Like the big thorn in Emu's side. Like, wait, And it also reminds me a little bit of like Enel in a way, because remember in Skypiea when Enel was like checking where everybody's at, like all the living people, like, oh, there's 5 left, there's
Yes.
4. It's like, imagine Emu's like able to do something similar. It's like, all right, there's 0 people left that remember Gunko. All right, Gunko, now I'm going to start using you because nobody's going to be able to like, you know, get your memories to come back because like you're not going to recognize anybody. But actually, he came back to life, so Emu got played, you know, in that way. So I think that'd be like a cool way to kind of combine all those storylines, and like Gunko and Brook both came back from the dead to meet each other.
The reason why I love that idea so much is because going back to what we've talked about with like the religious symbolism of this arc, when you die and you transcend to heaven, in the Bible it says that you get like a new name. You forget who you were in the time period you spent on Earth. What about if this is gonna be Oda's play on that, where Gunko, who she was on the planet Earth, on our planet, quote unquote, it was with Brook, with whoever, and then when she died, she was resurrected, memories cleansed, and when she ascended, Emu erased all of that, gave her a new name, all of that, but now those memories are coming back to something that should not be possible. I think that would play into the whole all this religious symbolism that he's been going for perfectly. Play with someone who legitimately ascended to heaven after dying after a certain point.
And think about that parallel to Sindri. This is something I brought up in both of my Gunko videos, and I think it's looking better and better. Remember, Sindri was basically Hogback's like slave, and I do zombies just live forever, like as long as the shadow's still in it? Is that I don't know if they ever talked about that, but I'm just comparing it to Gunko. Like Gunko doesn't age, so that might be an advantage to you know, having her die first and then bringing her back. Is like, well, now I have a permanent zombie, or as long as I have shadows or whatever. But for Sindri, like, we already have Hogback being a super creep, bringing this girl back as like his personal slave or whatever. But remember, at the end, she started fighting back against the commands, right? Like, she kind of remembered who she was a little bit and smiled at the crew, because she's like, you help. She didn't say this, but the implication is like, you helped me break through and, you know, get freed for good because I didn't like being here. And so it showed that like the body had some memory, even if the soul wasn't there anymore and it was controlled by a shadow and had these orders. Like, you could tell there was still a piece of that person in there. And I think that's what it is for Gunko, even if it's what you said, where like her memories got cleansed and all that. It might be like, whenever she met Brook, there was just like this automatic like physical reaction of like, you know, like, I don't know if muscle memory is the right way to put it, but it's just like the instant reaction of like, wait, I've done this, like deja vu. Wait, what are this? And that's why the memories start coming back, and it's like, wait, I've done that. Wait, I remember him. Wait, this song. And so then it's a cool way to bring back Sindri in a way, because going back to Gunko fighting back, it's the same thing. Like, maybe we have to get through to her, and she stop. Like, Emu doesn't do something at the last moment. Like, Emu's about to do the finishing blow on Luffy, and Gunko gets Emu to stop and saves the day or whatever. So yeah, I think there's a lot of, you know, Thriller Bark stuff. We talked about Moria, and also remember, Brook was introduced in Thriller Bark. Like, that's like an important just narrative thing to remember, is he's from the West Blue, Thriller Bark's from the West Blue, Moria's from the West Blue. Now we're in the West Blue here for God Valley. Gunko's here. It's like there's so many like narrative things. Rocks Pirates. There's so many narrative things that's like marrying Brook to Thriller Bark to what's happening right now. It's like I feel like some zombie talk is on the way, I think.
Listen, I mean, if we go to the Heaven Realm and we start exploring the life after death stuff in One Piece, that and go into all of the stuff that first started being introduced in Thriller Bark, hey, we could be cooking some stuff, man.
And dude, this is a theory I haven't thought of before, but I kind of like it. What if Moria pulls up, because he joins the Cross Guild, maybe they pull up, whatever, and he's looking for some zombies to create, because he already made Orbs, which is an ancient giant, so maybe he's like, well, let me go get some other ancient giant zombies. But what if we get Zombie Herald? Because remember, they talked about Herald's grave. Remember that? They talked about it.
Yeah.
So what if we get Zombie Herald, like an upgraded Oars? It could also be like Kaido. I think Kaido's body would be cool if he ends up being dead, but I'm not sure if that'll happen. But we know Herald's dead, and he is an actual ancient giant. So I don't know. What do you think?
I like that.
Zombie Herald? That'd be cool, man.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot because it would make Loki feel like let's just say Moria pulls up with Zombie Herald in the final war, and that ignites something in Loki and gives him an opportunity to maybe get some closure he otherwise wouldn't have had by being able to do something for his dad this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that would be such a great moment for Loki, because I do think his flashback ends on a lot of regret from his behalf. Maybe he felt he could have done more. And so actually being able to do something more this time around would be amazing.
I love that. I didn't even think about that thematic element, but it's like, maybe because we saw Harold get stabbed by all of his, like, allies or whatever, so maybe Loki doesn't get a proper goodbye to his dad, because remember, his dad's his only parent that really loved him, right? Like, his mom did not give a shit, and so it's like his dad might, you know, he has a softer spot in his heart, so it might be like, hey, I never got to say thank you or whatever, or maybe now after what happens in Elbaf, he'll have a better understanding of the world and what Harold was doing, and he's like, you know, I thought you were a kooky, you know, old man going for all this, you know, progress, but now I get it. You know, now I've been there and I'm going to do it for you. Like, I'll finish it. And then maybe he actually beats Harold because, like, all right, like, now that I told you, let's lay you to rest for good. And because don't worry, I got it kind of thing. Like, I think that'd be a super sentimental situation. I'd love that.
Me too.
So there's one other thing I just want to ask you real quick, just because there's this question that I've seen floating around and I haven't had a chance to talk about it. And I don't know if you've heard of it, but this is the last one. Then we're going to get out of here. And this is from Kanu, and like I said, I've seen this thrown around a lot, but I'm just very curious. Do you think that the big mountain in the middle of God Valley is a petrified Adam tree?
Wow.
And the reason why, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, but if you go to this chapter and you look at the side of God Valley, like the mountain in the middle, it looks kind of like a tree. It does. It's hard to, you know, I feel like mountains and trees and black and white manga, like you're splitting hairs a little bit. I feel like they kind of look similar, but I see what they're saying. I do see, and you know, the fact there's a big slash down the middle, is that like, for example, maybe this tree was an Adam tree, and then maybe like a Mihawk level person or something came and cut it right down the middle like that. And then that's why the tree died, and now it looks the way it does because, like, just the top of it started falling off and all that because, like, it just was too heavy or whatever. And so we're just left with, like, the split stump from that moment. And, you know, we just confuse it for a mountain, which is very Drum Island coded, I would say. Because Drum Island, I think, has the same thing.
The reason why I like this theory so much is because it would explain why the WG has fruits like Aokijis, Kizarus, Akainus, because if they had direct access to the tree that potentially could have been growing some of these fruits in God Valley, then they would have had an opportunity to be able to give those fruits and in that moment to their greatest superiors through the generations. Because I've always wondered why it is that they have so many fruits, even in this tournament, why they have so many fruits available to them. And why do they know where so many of them are? So if some of them potentially originated from the God Valley tree, I think that would explain a few things for me. So I think it's interesting. I never in a million years would have thought of that.
Yeah, because remember, earlier in Elbaf, they said there's like multiple Adam trees, right? They said there's other ones. And so It's like, okay, well, we got to see one at some point, I feel like. Like, I would pray. I mean, and honestly, at this point, I mean, Oda's a really, really consistent writer, but we've had a few retcons, so like stuff like that, I'm like, he could easily go back and say there's only one or whatever, but for right now, we know there's multiple, or that's what we're told, so I don't know, this one being an old Adam tree, and I think it'd be a little bit of foreshadowing if that's true, because I've been pushing the agenda for over 2 years now, over 2 years. The Adam tree is going to fall in Elbaf, and this could be some foreshadowing. Like, hey, one has fallen before, you know, and the Gods Knights were on that. Like, it fell before the God Valley, but just narratively, like, and the Gods Knights had a big battle there. Now the Gods Knights are having a big battle here in Elbaf, where there's another Adam tree. Is it going to fall? If Mihawk and the Cross Guild show up, like we just talked about, maybe we'll get another slash in the tree, just like that one, because somebody, you know, Zora will block a Mihawk attack and it'll cut the whole tree in half or something. I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential with that for sure.
Definitely. Dak, I have to ask you one thing before we get out of here, and
All right.
I would love for anyone, in the comment section, if you have an answer to this question I'm about to ask as well. I would love for you to either put it in this video or you can at me at wherever you want to at me. But please leave it in this video because I'll be searching the comments for this very question. Do you think Mosa is on God Valley right now? The Mosa that is connected to Loki, do you think is any of the characters that are within this flashback at this point in time? And maybe that's why we are focusing so hard on this incident, not just because it's one of the most important incidents in the history of the series, not just because it connects Rox to Loki and Harold to Rox, who then that causes connection to Loki, and why this is all a part of the Loki flashback. Because I've been thinking, why do we have a Loki who is the narrator of this flashback that knows everything that happened on God Valley? The only way he would know is if he heard stories from Mosa, who was at God Valley. So Codename Mosa. Do you think Codename Mosa was on God Valley? One of the characters at God Valley.
I honestly have not thought about this at all, but now that you bring it up, it's just I like Mosa seems like she, or it's, do we know it's a she? I don't even know. We know Mosa's going to be an important person. I feel like the way that Oda's building it up is like this little mystery is not going to lead nowhere, right? It's just, if it's as far as the people on God Valley, like who could it even be? You know, that's what I'm maybe a Davy member here and they escape, and that's like whenever they said like the true fear, maybe it's because they were at God Valley getting chased by everybody, and so they're like a Davy member. Like this one's really crazy, but like if Blackbeard's mom somehow lived, which I doubt she is.
I was just about to say that.
That'd be that'd be the most insane twist ever, dude. Oh my god, I would lose my mind.
So that's why I have been thinking about it, because when I saw Blackbeard's mom, the first thing I thought of was, why does she look so much like Robin? When I thought about Robin, I was like, oh wait, because I also think of Mosa as like this feminine individual, and so I was like, wait a minute, because before I saw Blackbeard's mom, I was like, is Ida, Hadruddin's mom, is that Mosa? And then I was thinking about potentially someone else being Mosa. But when I saw Blackbeard's mom, I was like, wait a minute. Hypothetically speaking, Blackbeard's mom gets out of here alive, or is in some way, shape, or form still irrelevant to the narrative. How interesting would it be to have Blackbeard's mother be the one actually helping Loki throughout all of this on Elbaf? It's so out there, such a big reach. But how interesting would that be? Because Loki sees himself as Rox's son. Loki sees himself as proverbially Rox's son. So how cool would it be for Rox's wife, his Blackbeard's mom, to be Mosa to Loki? I think it would just be a cool idea. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but that's why I wanted to ask you this, because I was like, if there's one character that could potentially be Mosa in this flashback, it's either going to be a God Knight that is within that introduction from the God's Knights. It's going to be one of them, or it's going to be one of the mothers. Shanks's mom, Blackbeard's mom, or a character we don't know of yet.
I honestly love like the logic behind that, like because it's just like I said with like the true fear, like that's always been the thing that's always stuck out to me the most with Mosa, is like, okay, so that whoever this is went through something really, really terrifying, and it's probably something that Loki was alive for, maybe not there for, but aware of, because Loki said something like, if I was there, I would have crushed them all, but you're too kind, or something like that, right? Like they were talking about some event one day, and like they took different paths on it, and Loki's like, I would have just crushed them all, or something like that. And it's like, is that maybe, like, if we're using God Valley as an example, maybe the person was scared to death at God Valley, but then Loki's like, if I was there, I would have just took them all out, like the Celestial Dragons. Like I would have just took them all. I wouldn't have cared. Right. But maybe they were too nice, because it's like, I mean, not even towards the Celestial Dragons, but just they just aren't fighters or whatever. It's like I'm just trying to escape. I'm not trying to take all these people out. But Loki's like, no, I would have fought back. I would have just cooked them. Like that fits so well. And so Blackbeard's mom that's like it's growing on me the more I hear, because it's one of those things whenever you hear it, you're like, there's no chance. Like what the hell? Like no, like she's dead. But I don't know. And you also brought up Ida, and I mean, we'll see. You know, Oda could always change it, but I feel like she's out of the equation now because they said they never met before. But we saw Ida and Loki have met several times, right? So I think Ida is out of the question, although she fit pretty well too, just because she was like, she's a really nice person. This person seems to care for Loki, and so if this woman got separated from Blackbeard, or I don't know why she's not seeking him out, but we'll see what that's all about. But or maybe it's because she can't be with him because she's a Davy, and maybe they don't. And actually, they might not have known that Blackbeard was a Davy until recently because of Shamrock, or we presume it's Shamrock visiting the Gorosei and saying we got to talk about a certain pirate. And then Saturn was like, his lineage is important to Devon. So it's like, okay, did he learn recently that he's a Davy? Because it would make sense that Shamrock, or even Shanks, is going to be the one to reveal that Blackbeard's a Davy, because Garling's the one who found the Davies originally, right? So that's like their son is taking after what they did. And so so maybe they didn't know that for a while. And so maybe that's it, where like she gives up Blackbeard, it gets away from him, and is like, I'm the only Davy, like, I don't have any kids, whatever. Kind of maybe like a Belle Mare thing almost. And so Blackbeard, so that they can never meet then. They're always separated because she can't go to him, otherwise it'll be obvious that they're related. And so that could be why she's separated, but still like calling Loki and kind of being like, well, you know, I'll comfort this kid at the very least, right? I'll help him, and I don't know. I like it the more I think about it, man. That's a good theory.
Yeah. I haven't been able to stop thinking about, like I said, it all started from looking at the face and being like, why does she look so much like Robin? And then it all stemmed from there, and I was like, wait a minute, man, what are we cooking here potentially? So it's just a fun theory that I think would be interesting.
Yeah, she'd be a really good answer, man. That's, like I said, the more I think about it, the more I like it. All right, one other thing I want to bring up now, because after you said that, you got my gears turning. So I just want to bring this up because we talked about it a little bit earlier. So going back to this skull real quick, because I had a couple questions on it. So we'll just talk about this just for a second. His figurehead, right? Because it did not have the Brook crack before. That's a new thing. We just saw that for the first time this chapter. At least it wasn't in the original 1096. Maybe it was last chapter, but this is a new thing. And like I said, you can see like little hairs at the top, like there's hair that got removed, which we know with Brook, you know, he has strong roots, so his hair stuck around until he was older, or until now, until forever. And so I'm curious, just if you think what we can take away from this, because remember, Rox's logo, his Jolly Roger also has a skull that's on fire, right? It has like flaming hair. And I'm like, well, when we think about flaming hair, well, I also think about Barbell, who actually didn't have flaming hair this chapter, which was interesting. But Luffy, right? Luffy with Gear 5, like his hair is basically on fire.
Yeah.
And then I also think back to Long Ring Longland, where Luffy's tattoo, when he was doing the Davy back fight, was a flaming skull again. And so Rox and Luffy had the same style thing. Like, what's that about? And then we see this skull here that has a Brook crack in it, but missing hair. So I'm just like,
yeah.
And also remember Afro Luffy. We had an afro on when he had the flaming hair thing on. So I'm just like, you know, little self-serving for myself. But you know, I've had the theory that the One Piece is an afro, or like Joy Boy's afro. Which has been upgraded to like the flaming Gear 5 afro, because the picture we saw of Joy Boy didn't look like he had one in the silhouette, although who knows really. But I'm wondering if it could be a hint to that, or maybe just something else entirely, because it's like the hair is missing. So where did the hair go? Like Brook kept his, but this Brook version lost it. Like, what is there something Oda's trying to say? You know, I don't know.
So staying on that, because now you've got me thinking. Going back to the Goonko thing that we've talked about with the flashback. Who's to say that flashback doesn't take place 800 years ago? Because now you've got to think about the importance of individuals with afros in the One Piece version. What about if we're thinking about this all wrong? And like going back to the big sake thing, the connection between Gunko and Brook maybe isn't necessarily direct. What about if its connection to Big Sake as a concept and that afroed individual actual is Bink? Like that's Binks. That is the Binks. So what we have is this focus on, like you said, with the afro, the thing on Roger's ship, that are everlasting. So we know that not just Brooks' hair has been everlasting throughout the course of this entire thing, but Gunko hasn't aged at all.
True.
So I just, for some reason, that's the very first thing I thought of whenever you were talking about the afro there, where I was like, wait a minute, because you're so right. When I think back to, especially with this context, for Luffy having the flaming skull, Rox having the flaming skull, and going back to Davy Jones, who if we presume to be Joy Boy, Luffy having an afro during a Davy back fight, number one, is Oda's favorite thing because he loves his gags, but number two, we know that every gag has meaning in One Piece. So it's like the afro, which I know you've always been advocating for, has so much importance. It very well could be extremely, extremely important with the stuff that that you're discussing here, and I can't stop thinking about the Gunko thing now. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I just had to say that.
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, just real quick. Another thing I noticed that I wanted to say is, not only do we have the crack in the skull and the missing hair, but it also looks like this skeleton is wearing like nice clothes. They have like a collar on and like a suit coat over it, which I'm like, okay, that's Brook. That's Brook. That's what he wears, right? 100%. He wears nicer clothes. So I don't know. And going back to the importance of the afro, man, I've been wanting to do a video on this for a long time, but I don't know if we've ever talked about it. But a lot of the time when Oda shows us flashbacks, including the first time we heard of God Valley with Sengoku, a lot of the time he shows us the flashback in their hair, and a lot of the time specifically in their afro. And so like Sengoku has an afro, and like the way he writes the panel is like his afro fades into the flashback, right? It's like he's thinking of it, so it's like his afro is where like the memory is. And like Ivankov has done this, and Ivankov also has an afro and is here on God Valley. So I don't know. I feel like there's something here, man. Like, and another thing is, what if Joy Boy is not Davy Jones and they are two people? Then I think for sure, even if the One Piece isn't an afro, Davy Jones had an afro. And I don't know what that's going to end up meaning.
Look at Luffy.
Yeah.
Look at Luffy. Luffy, Gear 5 can create an afro-like thing, so I can most certainly see someone like Davy Jones having it, no doubt, no question.
Yeah. And that's why I like the idea of the One Piece being like that flaming hair from like the prior Joy Boy, because it could be like I don't know how that would work if you're going to use like the op fruit to like cut it but not really cut it, and like so that way it's like still connected, so it follows the same logic as Brook, because like if they said if his afro got cut it would never regrow, and so or maybe that's part of it here too, is this person got their afro cut off, and so it's like a failed Brook, or in a way, because that was it's like his treasure, right? Without losing, like if he lost his afro, he could never go convince Laboon, but this guy did lose his afro, so I don't know what that's gonna entail, but I don't know, man. I think that's a crazy addition for Oda. Like, that's just,
dude,
I can't believe
that.
it.
That is very, very interesting, because no one brought that up whenever we were discussing the chapter, so I didn't even think about the differences in the presentation for this particular version of Roger's ship. I think because Oda's so intentional with a lot of things, right? And I'm wondering why. To have this be the first time that he shows that off in an incident that he knows we're all gonna go back and read. we're all the entire fandom is gonna go back and pick apart every single panel looking at things. And so, one could say it's fan service, but as this flashback has shown us, every bit of fan service has meaning.
Yeah.
So if anyone who potentially wants to say that's just fan service for us to be able to look and think of Brook, every single piece of fan service in this this flashback has had major, major implications and meanings. So I don't know what it means, man, but I'm interested in finding out what it will mean.
So same here, and it might be next chapter at this rate, man, because we're getting God Valley now. You know, Oda's ready to drop it all on us. So King Recon, thank you for joining, man. This was a great discussion. I'm glad we could get all the peak out, because I know you and I have been, we DM'd a little bit. We've been ready for this, so we'll meet again soon. And maybe on the other side of God Valley, and we'll talk about what all went down. But any parting words for everybody, King Recon, before you head out?
Number one, just want to say thank you. Much love to every single individual who continues to watch these, and much love to Dak, man. Like, y'all have no idea. I have been fiending to talk to someone about this, and to be able to sit here again with my good brother 10 chapters after our last discussion, which we felt like that was game-changing and changed the entire series. These 10 chapters were game-changing and changed the entire series. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, who knows where we're going to be next time when we discuss it. Hopefully in the next 5 to 10 chapters when we come back here again to talk about the events of God Valley and maybe the beginning of coming back to Elbaf. It's just it's always fun, man. I appreciate you so much, because I feel like the discussions that we have feel like a brainstorming session for whenever I'm like thinking of a story. So it's like there's just so many ideas whenever we're cooking that would just be popping in where it's like, oh my god, man, this is crazy. So I really appreciate you as an individual that less and less stuff out there. So all love to you, Dak, man. All love to your community as well.
Yeah, no, all love to you too, and your community, which I know our community has a lot of overlap. So much love to them, as well. There's a lot of times I go to your chat, your stream, and I'll see a bunch of people from my stream that I usually see, which is just awesome to have that kind of connectivity. But yeah, thank you for your time, man. It's always great talking to you. Like you said, things have changed a lot over the last 10 chapters. Who knows where things are going to be 10 chapters from now? We might still be in the flashback. We might be in the Heaven Realm. We might be in Marijois seeing the war. We might go catch up with Blackbeard or Law or Cross. We got way too much to look forward to. So thank you for joining me. We got just so much going on in the story. So we will be back to talk about that. But thank you guys for watching as always, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.